understand. This is like, this must be especially weird for you coming from the prairies of straight, level roads.
I mean, I've lived and worked in the mountains for years.
I guess that's true.
So, no.
Listen, on both times coming across, you complain about the roads. Why they're up like this? Why are they like this? Why aren't they straight? I'm trying to work that into the film, and you're like, no, that's fine. That's fine. I don't mind.
Why they're all over the place? I know why they're all over the place, most of the place, but some places have no excuse not to be nice and straight.
So Robbie, are you from this area?
I grew up in Pittsburgh County, Nova Scotia.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So what brought you here to Parks Canada?
Well, I recently retired from the Army, and yeah, I got a job here at Parks. I guess I enjoy hiking. I enjoy the backcountry. I grew up in rural Nova Scotia and really enjoyed that part of my upbringing.
What do you think it is about this park that brings so many people from all over the world?
Sure, yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, you have obviously the iconic Cabot Trail, but that's really the backdrop. So we have sort of this beautiful, you know, the sea meets the sky, the rolling hills, but you also have the intersect of Indigenous culture, Acadian culture, Gaelic culture. You have all of these sort of the culmination of shared history. Also have beautiful weather, like you have it today in the summertime especially, but also we have sort of unparalleled terrain anywhere in the province and sort of in the region. You've got that sort of like the Highlands, which see great snow in the wintertime for skiing and snowshoeing, that type of activity. But, you know, surf, we look down here, we've got one of the greatest surfing spots in Eastern Canada, down here at English Beach, and all throughout the Highlands is a great access to the water and to nature. So it's just a really great melange, and with that Cabot Trail, sort of that through route that brings people, it's not only the iconic trip of a lifetime bucket list destination, but it's also connects schools and it connects, you know, hospitals. It connects that whole rural northern Cape Breton is that Cabot Trail. So it links the community with the visiting public, and, you know, visitors are on this peak season, but it's people's commutes to work, it's their drive on a school bus, it's everything that kind of.
What's a general workday for you look like? Like, I imagine it's not the same every day.
No, it's not. I mean, it's like 4 seasons of stuff going on here, right? So, I mean, there's day-to-day operations, but the big challenge, I guess, is more that seasonal change when we switch from the shoulder seasons to the summer, back to shoulder season, and then winter again. And also our seasons are getting longer. So, like, typically we would see, you know, from July to Canada Day, but the Thanksgiving weekend, the foliage of Celtic colors is becoming one of our busiest weekends. So, like, that's sort of becoming, the tourism season is sort of expanding, and so when we respond to that, so keeping our facilities open longer and campgrounds open longer, and then obviously the traffic that sort of builds up on the Cabot Trail in those peak seasons that are sort of outside your typical summer season. Yeah, it's very, very, I'd say more seasonally dependent than daily.
So what goes into planning and prioritizing the work that has to be done?
Yeah, that's a big question. So we have a lot of stuff, obviously, that goes on day to day and routinely, but then the priorities, obviously, and always will, always has been, is sort of public safety. This last storm that happened, we had a lot of sort of washout in the mid to front country as well. So some day use areas that washed out, and some trails had some serious washout. Like some of it's up here on this trail as well. And so we started that design process to kind of get sort of future-proofing and give some resiliency to some of our trails that may have not been sort of designed with that sort of trail sustainability in mind. And the same thing with the Cabot Trail as well. So we have parts of the Cabot Trail are 100 years old. Shoulder seasons, a lot more work that goes into sort of keeping those routes open, and in some places needs reroutes, or areas where sustainability becomes an issue and trying to like keep up with historic flooding areas or washouts. And so we had a lot of rain, as people remember, last year, and so we had to deal with that from both a maintenance perspective, but also sort of a longer term capital planning process of some of these trails may not be sustainable in the long term, so we have to think about local reroutes and areas that kind of give it a little more sustainability and longevity. For places like Middle Head, this trail existed before the park. This was a homestead before. Before that, there was fishing. Obviously, you see the lobster pots still in the ground, in the water right now. So before the lobster, there was also other fisheries that would have come in. There's a beach over here, so this would have been used to dry fish and process trade. And before that, obviously over here we have Ingonish Island, which well-documented First Nations inhabitants, also for flint mining and tools, and lots of cultural artifacts on that island. And of course where they would come ashore, whether it's here, Broad Cove, Ingonish Beach. So there's lots of centuries, thousands of years of cultural use of these places. And with Middlehead in particular, like, there's only so much footprint you can go. So the trail was already basically pre-designed before we showed up,
Right.
but it wasn't designed with all of that longevity in mind. All the communities are really codependent around the Cabot Trail, like I sort of spoke about before. You know, it's the iconic bucket list destination. It's the trip of a lifetime, but it's people's commute to work. It's where they get their pharmacy, the grocery store. It's everyday driving for people. But also living in this part of the world means you're that much more connected with nature and the environment around you. So you've got beaches and trails, but the community has really been great in supporting how we sort of work and grow together as both a business and a community.
And that's a unique situation here, right?
It is and it isn't. I mean, we have unique in this part of the world for sure, but we have other parks that do have through highways, for example, like Terranova National Park and Grossmorn and
Very
places
familiar.
like that, the Banff, the whole mountain corridor.
Right.
Those community groups, or the community working with different communities and how they sort of go hand in glove with the park and the businesses. But yeah, in this area here, it's really in sort of Atlantic Canada, it's very unique in that sense, how that iconic destination is a tourism offer, but it's also a drive to work. You're now in a airstream. So how does a minimalist and a maximalist combine in an airstream? How do those two?
That's how the trailer got named the Clutterbug.
How charming. So I'm guessing the truck and the trailer are both maximalized.
I mean, pretty much. It's a process, but there's a lot of stuff left at home.
Right.
So
He
you
was
haven't-
initially not very interested in the idea of small living, and then we did the RV thing for a few months, and she thought, actually, you know what? This is awesome. I could totally do this.
Okay, to be clear, when he said small living, his idea was a 16-foot base
No,
camp
not for
model.
2 people. That was just my initial bachelor pad plan until you came along.
Welcome to Groovy Goat.
Thank you. I love your shirt.
Thank you. How was your drive?
Lovely.
Good.
A lot of winding roads up the
Yes.
highlands there.
Yep. Yeah.
Prairie bird, he's not used to it.
No.
Where are the goats?
Yeah. So I guess we can start by checking out the barn and meeting the goats because that's where this all started. So
Perfect.
Sounds
yeah.
great. Let's do it. How many do you have?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's always changing depending
yeah.
on, having babies and then selling them and getting,
Right.
But around like 14, 15. So the babies we had in February. So they're pretty sweet. And then we actually had a surprise baby just about a month ago.
Oh, wow.
So,
Don't you hate it when that happens?
right? Happens to goats too. So if you
Oh,
guys,
is this for us?
this is for you, if you want to.
Absolutely.
I do have a sink so you can wash your hands when you're done.
Oh,
'cause they're a bit
perfect.
summer.
Thank you.
So if you just
Problem
put your
with those,
hand nice and
Yep.
flat,
Okay.
they will just eat it right out of your
that's so funny.
hand.
So
It's a bit
I guess
slobbery.
you're just going for one because you're not going to make it very far with.
Right? I try to
these
spread it
little guys.
around.
All
but-
right, guys. Okay. So how does one get into goat farming?
Yes, it was an accident.
Okay. Okay.